This is Smarter Marketing with The Point Group. Today's topics: targeting by age, LegitScript, and social media's importance for SEO. Here's your host, Bill Simpson. Today I'm joined by Derek Stanfield-Kivoy, who manages our PPC campaigns within our digital marketing department. So basically, it's a meeting of the minds between Google and Facebook, and we're here to first talk about audience strategy. So with one of our clients, Inner Health, which is a recovery and addiction rehabilitation center for recovering addicts, etc., in the Dallas area. And so I wanted to know about your age targeting and how you targeted that specific demographic of the age. Were you going for millennials? Were you doing broad targeting? Like, while I'm testing my creative right now with Facebook, I just did a broad targeting for the month of 18 to 65 plus, and now I get to go back for this month of August and look at which age groups really looked at my ads and clicked my ads the most, and now I can see who I should target to the most. But just to start, how did you do your targeting by age? And I guess specifically, did you target millennials in terms of a younger demographic?
Research has shown that maybe there not many
right
are looking or have the capability of taking care of, their elder parents or grandparents at that younger age, right?
Right.
So, and just the economic thing. So, when you do the research, you got to make sure it kind of matches up how you target and market.
That's true, because when I actually sent you that Ninja Cat report of my first, or I guess it would be second week of Facebook advertising for Inner Health, it definitely skewed older, that pie chart we were looking at. And I will say, though, 18-year-olds, the younger demographic, they may not be huge influencers in terms of getting their parents to do it or in terms of being able to afford to do it on their own. But I would say it might be worth reaching because that demographic in particular may need recovery efforts. You know what I mean?
Well, absolutely. I mean, depending on a client company's budget, I don't think it's a bad idea at all, because it's a brand influence too. So if you start at an early enough age, you become an influencer because of just mere familiarity, right? Mm-hmm. So, I mean, budget allowing, I think it's a good thing anyway. But when you're limited by budget, and we really need to see results in as fast as
3 months, right. Give it 3 months.
Right. So, we want to first, get the low-hanging fruit so we can kind of execute at a high level and get the results. And then we can kind of go back and say, hey, maybe we can spread this a little bit out, a little bit further based on these results. Because at the same time, we're going to be still, sifting through the results of whether we're targeting younger people or not.
Right.
Who may still enter that bubble of data that we're collecting, right?
So a big reason why doing Google ads in addition to doing paid Facebook ads is so important for me is when I have my Facebook funnel and I have my phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 awareness, consideration, conversion, what you're doing on your end by getting people to the website, based on your Google AdWords, keywords, ad groups, etc., it makes my phase 2 of my funnel that much bigger, almost like a phase 1, except it's a warm audience, because I have an audience, an ad set targeted specifically from website visitors. So on my end, it is always so awesome to do that double advertising with Google and Facebook, because it opens up phase 2 of my funnel so much more. So I'm just curious to see and know perhaps what Facebook and social media advertising does to help you on your end on the Google side.
In my experience, Facebook and social media in general is the biggest SEO influencer.
Mm.
And it's becoming the most credible influencer by the search engines. They're looking at that and putting that above reviews and all the other things that people can say about you online. So if people are speaking of you or your product on a social media platform, the search engines, and there are like 12 of them, people think it's only 2, but there are a lot, they will actually look at that because that's the first person's experience.
Right.
And they hold more value to that. So from a Google perspective, from an AdWords perspective, I believe, because we have AdWords and we have Google Analytics.
Right.
Which is an organic, measurement. But all of these things kind of flow together in Google Analytics. I'm looking at the data from social. I'm looking at the metrics from AdWords.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm seeing where there's the overlap. I'm seeing where there are things that they're doing consistent, whether it be from a geo or demo perspective.
Right.
So I can, kind of adjust the strategy based on that data. But one thing I do know that's pretty consistent over the last few years is that Facebook in particular, and depending on the product, Instagram has been a major influencer. Now, when you use the two together, you have, so if you can imagine 2 channels individually strong, and then you take them and you wove them together like a rope, it's going to be pretty hard to break that. It's pretty solid data you're getting. And you're getting it from a much more well-rounded perspective because you're getting it from a user experience from maybe, standing back and looking at it. But now from a social perspective, you're getting a lot more different kind of interaction. People are responding in a different way. So you can match that with what they're doing in AdWords. And you can pretty much project what the outcome will be as long as you're consistent with budget.
So is the SEO from social, is that boost affected more by people making posts about that keyword or about that company? Or does it also boost if that company writes about itself and just hits those target words?
Both. What the search engines, I look at it from that perspective, what they value. So you have a website. What you post yourself is important because they want that. They want you to be constantly engaging. But what's valued even greater than that is what I repost visiting your Facebook, your post. What have I said about it in regards to it? Did I say something disparaging? Did I say something positive? Did I say something positive or negative and I shared it? Right? And those are the things that really help. When you're doing those things and you're doing Google My Business and your business is set up in a proper way, it's listed properly, right? And on top of that, when you do things like Google Plus, which is
a huge joke. Just kidding.
I know many people look at it that way, but it's one of those things, look at it like an organ. It's one of those organs that, if you lose this organ, can you live? Yes. But if you have it and it's healthy, can it be helpful? Yes. That's Google Plus.
Okay.
So Google Plus is used like in the trifecta, along with YouTube, and along with, having,
SEO,
AdWords, right?
Yeah.
So if you have Google My Business, you have YouTube, and you have G+.
Gotcha.
If you don't have one of those things, will you be able to function? Yes. If you have those 3 things and you're doing them optimally correct, will you function better and appear better in search? Yes.
And I guess you can look at it the same way with social media. Like, if you have a Facebook and a LinkedIn, you have some credibility. You're going to be able to be easier searched on Google, wherever. But if you have an Instagram and you have a Twitter, then you're going to be even better. So
the same thing, and this is one of the reasons. So what Facebook did, they took a page from Google. Because Google took a page from Facebook, people forget that Facebook initially was ahead of them on paid search. They just didn't really invest in it early on. I started with paid search with Facebook. I never thought it would be a thing, at the time when I first started. And this was, over a decade ago.
Right.
I never thought it would be like a thing where, you or I both are having a decent salary from that. I would have never thought of that at that time.
Right.
So I think it's amazing how far it's progressed. But they initiated that. Google just took it and they saw the potential and ran with it. In the reverse of that, Facebook looked at what they were attempting to do with Google Plus. Now, initially, it was they wanted to use Google Plus to challenge Facebook, as we know.
Right.
That didn't work.
Yes.
But
it's a very nice way to say it.
Right. But they pivoted and they used it as a trifecta to now say, for any of us who want to do business with them, if you don't use all of these components, you won't get 100%. If you're doing 100% on your paid and you're doing 100% organically and you're doing things in Google, well, that's still only 75% of 100.
Right. Which
right?
is,
right?
Some people see that as a D.
So now that automatically for businesses who really rely on Google, of course, you're going to do all of them.
Right.
Right? Even if you're not going to be a Uber engagement with that particular G Plus platform, you're going to make sure it's set up. And then you're going to make it easy on yourself, because what you're going to do is then the things you do on Facebook, you're just going to take that same post and put it on G Plus.
Right.
Google, Facebook saw how advantageous that was in the market, which is why they then started gobbling up companies that aligned with them that was actually taken away from them, like Instagram. Right?
WhatsApp.
Which I love WhatsApp, by the way.
Me too.
So they looked at this as an opportunity to see how they can close the gap on some of these opportunities that Google is presenting.
So with one of our clients, inner health, a sensitive category in addiction and recovery, rehabilitation, we have come across a company called LegitScript, and they are, trying to have us submit a bunch of information to prove that we're a legitimate company, we are a legitimate rehabilitation center, and it has been tough. It has been frustrating. And so, can you give us any background on that? What is LegitScript? How have you worked with them before, and what are your thoughts on them?
Well, they started about, I want to say 2007, 2008. So they've been around for at least a decade now.
Okay.
I believe when they started out, it was probably, I'm sure they didn't think that they would grow to be as big as they are now, because they started out as a small little outfit of some highly motivated people who wanted to kind of police the internet.
Gotcha.
That was their, initial, approach into getting into this area, to this arena of basically web security, right? Policing and trying to keep some of the players honest. In the process, it has really, really snowballed, successfully for them. But now here we at a situation where, in order to run any ads that may even appear slightly pharmaceutical, so they're not like, if you have of course a pharmacy, you have nothing but those type of keywords, right?
Right.
A lot of companies were passing themselves off as a pharmacy, but they weren't. They were pill warehouses and all the different various nicknames you can go along the lines of that. So this is how they came in play to make a niche opportunity for themselves to kind of screen companies and have them qualify. And there is a certain qualifying criteria, because if you had your own business, let's say as a doctor, and say you worked out of an attachment to your home, which a lot of doctors do, unless you were affiliated with a greater institution, you couldn't even get certified. If you can't get certified, that means you're very limited to what you can advertise. So where we're at in the vetting process is, which is what I was mentioning earlier, looking at what you presented, I couldn't even take all of that on. Like, give you an example, if I create an ad similar to something using some of the wording and context that you used, it would immediately wouldn't even let me save it.
Like addiction.
Right.
Or rehab.
It totally stopped me. it would let me know, because it knows already. So in building out that campaign, or building out that ad for that campaign, I had to use words that basically ultimately, once we do get approval, I'm going to have to go back and swap out the, basically a placeholder. But anyway, to get back to the gist of your question is, they started about 10 years ago. They started as a small outfit of just some highly motivated people who wanted to basically clean up the internet. And that was their basic premise.
Do you have an idea of what words you'll be able to use once you get approved?
I don't think there will be any limitation, as long as it's used in the right context.
Gotcha.
The
thing with me on the Facebook end, and I actually spoke with someone from Facebook just to keep it guaranteed, because Facebook is they've rejected my ads all the time. I've worked for doctors. We've here at the Point Group have plenty of healthcare patients and clients, and I just knew I wasn't even going to try writing words addiction, you know what I mean, like just negative words in that category. So I made all of my ads positive, and I wrote about the recovery process, and I never used specific words like drug, addiction, and rehabilitation. I instead opted for recovery. I used recovery, I think, in every ad. All my ads got approved. The marketing expert I work with at Facebook told me keep them running, like don't worry about getting paused, and it's been going very smoothly.
Now you can, like I said, there are doctors who are working, out of their homes. They have to be competitive too. So you can find a creative way to get your ads up, but when you're being in such a
indirect.
As a big business, if you're not using the right keywords, you're not going to win. You're not going to compete,
and you're not advertising yourself correctly.
I worked once with a client that all they did was everything you can imagine up to needing a prescription. So they were over-the-counter things, some vitamins, multiple, supplements, all kinds of things, right? But the names alone would get rejected because maybe the ingredients in certain things were historically prominently known to have certain other ingredients that, it really goes deep into it.
Wow.
So if you say a thing and if that particular thing has a history of having certain ingredients in it, even though you do not mention those keywords,
right,
it will still get rejected.
Wow.
So I've been in an environment where you have to get around that because they weren't going to be paying the fee
right
to get certified. They weren't going to do it. So, they pretty much said, hey, this is what we're paying you for. Get around it.
Is it expensive to get certified?
It's very expensive, and the process is...
we've already been waiting 2 weeks, and we're still...
It's pretty profound because it's very extensive, and the information that they want from the company is pretty extensive and personal. So, many companies will be reluctant. Maybe the companies can be, ready to go, but maybe some of the employees may be reluctant.
Right.
Because there are security issues there.
Yeah.
When you're dealing with a company that you've never heard of before.
So, last question for this podcast regarding LegitScript. Once you cross that hurdle, do you think that because you will be just one of way fewer people to have crossed that hurdle than before, that your costs and conversion costs, cost per click, is all that just going to go down so much?
I think one is going to go down, and we're going to, especially for each of the companies who've been approved, they should own their market unless they happen to be in the market with a lot of competitors, because this process is so extensive, especially initially. It should be very few who are competing with that certification, and because there are not as many competing, and we're able to use all these really good juicy keywords that are really go to the heart of the definition of the particular prescription or addiction, or in this case, or substance, whether it be alcoholism or whatever have you. Because we can really be definitive in that, when people are searching, if you did something you didn't have the certification, like you said, you have to be really crafty. But now I'm second guessing whether you're actually able in my search. When I see you, are you saying you can help me with this addiction, or not? Maybe I'm not sure. Whereas I'm advertising the very thing you want to know specifically, right?
Right.
And you're like, okay, I'm clicking here. Because that was what I was asking for. I'm asking about alcoholism.
Right.
I'm asking about heroin addiction. Where the competitors, they may just say other words that can kind of
go around it.
Right.
Indirect.
Yeah. Well,
I don't know if that's what I want.
Right. I don't want to do this anyway. I don't want to.
It doesn't address the problem head on to the consumer.
Yeah. So from an opportunity cost, people don't want to go down a seemingly possible rabbit hole. They want to get right to it. So that's going to give us the benefit of driving the cost down, because there are not many people who are going to be doing that. And from a user experience perspective, being able to create a better environment for them to search drives costs down anyway, naturally.
And just to close on this, it's obvious, if for the listeners that don't know, LegitScript does have a partnership with Google, so
yes.
That's why all this has happened.
They have a partnership as well with Amazon,
Facebook,
and Facebook.
All the
they
big
do not
vendors.
have a partnership with Bing, so that's something to consider.
Well, if people used Bing, then that would be cool, but
right, it would be. People use it, but it's a totally different niche demo for that. That's a whole other podcast.
A binger. Yeah, that'll be a different podcast, exactly. So, Derek, I do appreciate the time. On behalf of the Point Group, I just want to say, be sure to follow the Point Group on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. Be sure to subscribe to our newsletter via our website or our Facebook page. For Derek Stanfield-Kivoy, our manager of our PPC campaigns, I'm Bill Simpson. Thanks for listening.